Hello, welcome to the Midday Brief. Over the next 60 minutes, here are some of the stories you should expect. Ghana coalition of NGOs on health want condom tax removed to ensure gains on use of contraceptive is not eroded. Multimedia Ghana Limited partners the Christian Council and others for a peace forum in Accra later today. Also ahead, persons with disability call on society and government to ensure the speedy implementation of the Disability Act. And in business, former Ghana Airways board member Alhaji Asuma Banda advises government to stay clear of the airline industry. And my name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Stay with me, I'll bring you details of these stories and plenty more in a bit. In our first story, the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health has called on government to abolish tax on condoms as any increase in price would erode the gains made towards increasing contraceptive use. The Vice Chairperson for the coalition, Cecilia Senu, said the tax to be charged on condoms would not generate any wealthy resources worth the risk of derailing the nation's efforts at lowering HIV and AIDS prevalence and also increasing condom use. And Michael Boedi, an advocacy officer of the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health, is here with me in the studio to help us understand their concerns. You're welcome to the Midday Brief.
Thank you.
Right, and so why can't the government, put a tax on condoms if it can generate something from that?
Well, I'm glad you say something, but I mean, the whole thought about government putting tax on condom for me is, for the coalition, is quite confusing. The reason is this. Government on one breath is spending a lot of resources to promote the reduction of HIV prevalence in this country. From 2005 till now, Ghana has made a lot of gains. We've moved from 2.7% to about 1.37. We are aiming at 1.16 by 2016. Now, the various initiatives were embarked upon to arrive at these reduction in the AIDS prevalence. Amongst them is the use of contraceptive. Condom plays a very major role. Now, for those of us who are on the ground, who go to distribute the condom and ensure that people use condom and educate people to use the condom, we are worried because most people are reluctant to use the condom. I'm sure you've heard the joke about eating toffee with the wrapper on. And so it's a hard work that we put in to get people to use condoms. So if now government turns around and say, look, I'm putting taxes on condom, and what it implies is that the price would inch up a bit. What are we doing to ourselves?
But as I understand, it won't necessarily increase the price of condoms. Can you help us understand the mass?
Well, Imani did some calculations. Imani talked about the fact that condom tax is going to rake in only 9,000 Ghana cedi. Have we thought about the impact, the effect then? And is it worth the while that you earn 9,000 and because of 9,000 Ghana cedi, you put many lives in danger? If currently the strip of condom, what we all call the Be Safe, that is the lowest end, is 1 cedi. Go to the villages, they are reluctant, they don't want to buy it. So how much more would you put on this? and still think that, you know, the rural people within the rural community will buy. As a matter of fact, they are even asking for free.
What happened to free condoms?
Well, it is not free. I mean, you pay a token to get condom everywhere. The idea is that there are various charges involved in, you know, transportation, and so when Ghana East Commission allows a margin to be charged, you know, and that is about 1 CD for the strip of condom, and even that we are struggling very hard to get the low-income group people to buy.
I see.
How much more now? You go back to them and say, look, you pay a little more. So even if it's a cent in addition, what we are saying is that since it's not going to benefit the country in no substantial, you know, there's no point in imposing the tax at all.
Right. Now, from the understanding I got since these arguments over the condom tax came up is that there is an element that protects the quote-unquote free condoms, and that, you know, those who are in condom importation for profit gains. I mean, there are some condoms that here cost as much as 20 cedis, and those are the people who would have the tax element, but those who enjoy the quote-unquote free condoms are not exactly affected.
Well, that is a very sad argument. How many of our people buy the expensive condoms anyway? I mean, people don't buy. Most of the people who buy condoms, or most of the people who patronize condom, they go for the low ends. They don't buy the Durex, the high ends. And therefore, the idea is that even if you are targeting the high ends, how many use the high ends? And therefore, it's even worse. It means that the government will even spend more in collecting that tax. So the whole idea is a flaw from the beginning. And we are pleading with government to at least, for the condom, if government says it's a listening government, then at least for condom tax, you should listen to the masses and take it off, so that at least if those who cannot abstain, they would have
all of these reactions since the idea of condom tax surfaced. What's been the response?
Well, we keep seeing goalposts being shifted. First, it was condom tax. Then the next time it's now on the those who are importing expensive tax and for profit and so on. And so we keep having, you know, the goalposts being shifted. We are hoping that government will listen. And so that is why we are encouraging all Ghanaians, the media, everybody who is concerned about the situation with teenage pregnancy in the country, the situation with maternal mortality, high maternal mortality in the country, people who are concerned about HIV in the country, to put in a word. Let's put pressure on the government. Let's tell the government that as for this one, it won't get the country anything, and therefore there's no point in starting it at all. So that at least those of us who are encouraging people who cannot abstain to use condom would make our work a lot more easier. Just as the government said they were going to increase, put taxes on petrol. Go down there and talk to people. The ordinary man says, look, then we are not going to wear it at all. Because after all, we don't want to wear it in the first place. And so why would we pay more?
Hence the fear of the rise
and most of these things are attitudinal. You know, it's psychological. People are psyched up that, look, it doesn't feel good when they use the condom. So if you are going to you need to give them incentive to use it rather than, you know, taxing them. It provides disincentive and it will pull people off the use of condom.
We understand also that at your press conference you touched on the unavailability of HIV test kits, or the short of it in the country. Tell us about that. Is this a real threat?
Well, I think that, we made a joke about it, that, you know, the HIV is now getting as scarce as pink sheets. You know, now you see it's the whole government's approach to managing HIV is now getting very frightening. We don't have test kits, and, you know, test kits is the entry point to the whole HIV management or control. You need to first let people know that they have HIV. You understand? Then you would start treatment. Now the test kits are not available. We are promoting, we go around, spend a lot of money promoting voluntary testing. Now you talk to them, you counsel them, they are ready to test and the test kits are not available. Now they are rationing. So it's only pregnant people who have access to test kits. Those who are prepared to test as we speak now can get access to test kits. And it's beyond test kits. We talk about also the antiretroviral vaccines and drugs. It's also not available. They are being rationed. Do you know what it means for 200,000 persons or 200,000 and more persons living with HIV not having antiretroviral drugs? It's frightening. It is frightening. And that's why we're calling on government. Let's think about the minority, the vulnerable in our society. Sometimes we should tone down a bit about the big things and let's look at the
effect,
because the effect is
all the efforts that have been put in over the years.
Completely.
But why do you think we seem to be changing our stance when it comes to the fight against HIV now?
I think it's just priority. I mean, government's attitude or priorities must be right. Government should know what it means to do A, B, or C. For us, we in health, we think that government seem to not be taking health as serious, especially with HIV, as serious as it attaches to other sectors. And we think that government should do a bit more.
You think we're also being complacent, perhaps?
It is not. It's not complacency. It's just that somebody is not just doing his work. It's not just complacency, because the AIDS is real. And everybody is at risk. It's not so long as you plan to have a child. What it means is that you would have sex without condom or protection. And so what it means is that you will be exposed one form or the other to HIV.
So what now?
Well, we are just calling now. We are encouraging the whole populace. We are encouraging the media to support our cause. We are calling on government to please. Let's waive the tax. It will not give Ghana any joy, but the effect is dire. The effect is so serious. We might not see it today, but 2-3 years down the road, we will be reaping if it's the benefit. I won't call it benefit, but we'll be reaping disaster. We are all calling for peace after the election, but please, what use will that peace be if we are sick?
Something just came to mind, but how long before we hit the red line when it comes to testing?
Well, number one, it's an individual thing, depending on your body.
With regards to our shortage of the test kits and the ARVs, how long before we hit red line?
I would say that right now we even hit the red line.
We are in red line.
Yes, because as we speak now, somebody is having sex. And as we speak now, somebody is exposing himself to HIV. That person 3 months down the road should be able to tell voluntarily. I should walk into a place and say, look, I have had a reckless sex or unprotected sex. I want to know my status. It's real. Every minute, people put their lives in danger. We should protect our citizens by ensuring that at least, even if people would not abstain, there is an avenue for which they will be able to attest or to be tested to know their status, and then they begin the process of medication. In that case, then we know that at least the citizens are safe, so that those who would be responsible and protect themselves will limit the effect, the possibility of they contracting the HIV. That's all.
I thought NGOs also had an element where they are able to bring in their own test kits and
well, there are some
their ARVs.
Yeah, there are some drugs that it's solely imported by government. ARV is one of them. So the NGOs, we pick it from the central medical stores. When it comes to AIDS, most of the drugs are imported by the state. And the state, we only do the social mobilization, education, and to some extent distribution.
Right. Thank you very much, Michael. Michael Boydie is Advocacy Officer for the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health. But let's quickly move on to some other stories. The National Disaster Management Organization Organization and the Ghana Red Cross Society have urged Ghanaians to shun violence to ensure there would be absolute peace even after the Supreme Court ruling. Redwan Karim Dini has the rest of the story.
2 months on, the situation at Obom Kojunto still remains the same. Residents are not able to stay away from their old place as they still haven't had a permanent place to stay. The children seem to be hanging around their former place searching for food. Having been fortunate to find some coconut here, it seems not to be enough for them to share and have had to struggle over it. He had to take the intervention of some adults to separate them and equally share the coconut for them. Even though the South municipality has made part payment of the land acquired for the people, residents have not been able to put up structures as the land has not been fully paid for nor been graded. Unfortunately, the corn mill machine structure, which some of them spend the night in, is also on the verge of collapse. Parts of the wooden structure are breaking off. 60-year-old Amisoko and her sister Dajongo, as old as they are, have nowhere going and still sleep in the demolished structure. They tell me.
We apologize for the wrong video, but you're still watching the Midday Brief. When I return, the news continues. You're welcome back to the Midday Brief. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has expressed disappointment at the politicization of the problems facing the agricultural sector. Now, at a sensitization workshop jointly organized in Tamale by the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana and Send Ghana, the association noted that the problems of agric have such dire consequences for the security of the nation that discussing them ought to be devoid of partisan considerations and plain misinformation. Victoria Adongo is coordinator of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, and she's here with me in the studio. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, madam.
But why do you think we seem to politicize our agric issues?
That is a very interesting question. I don't know. Because agricultural issues are issues of security, as we are saying, food security and even national security. There are also issues about development, rural development, and development in general. So politicizing agriculture is, I really wonder why politicians should be playing politics.
Let me put my question this way. You're with the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that, why do you say so, that we are politicizing the agric? What's giving you the signal?
Okay, let me just be very specific. A couple of weeks ago, the NPP came out to say that NDC have failed in agriculture. And the Deputy Minister for Crops also came out to say that there's an unprecedented record of food security in the country.
Right.
That is politics. Both of them are trying to score political high points. And we are saying that that is neither here nor there. The important thing is to tackle the core issues that will ensure that there is food security and farmers to improve their livelihoods. We have unsolved challenges that have come down through any political regime. It's not all of them that have not been attended to. The challenges are still there. So we don't see why they should be seeking to score political high marks.
From where you sit, how would the continuous politicization of the sector affect us?
Well, if they don't sit back and then think through as to how to tackle the core problems that farmers are facing. Ultimately, food security will be jeopardized. National security will be jeopardized, and development will be jeopardized.
Right. Let's look at the issue of the northern rains. I know you were the peasant, but we understand that rains have been, you know, almost non-existent, even though it's been raining down here for, you know, in and out.
Yeah.
Is that a threat to our food supply?
Well, that is a natural threat. It's not a political, but on a very serious note, yes, in the northern region, there has been some rain pattern problems. You know, the rains didn't come when they were expecting the rains to come. Then the rains came. Then they planted, then the rains have stopped. And that is in some parts of the northern region. And then some parts of the upper east region, that's the Bolgatanga, going to Navrongo area. But when you look at Boku East, Boku West, Garu, Timpani, it's raining well. And in fact, they are looking forward to very good harvest. I spoke to our members in Sisala East this morning before I came to the studio. And they are saying that they are quite happy with the rains now. So I think the problem is in very isolated cases in the northern region, right, and some parts of the upper east region.
Let's talk about the issue of extension officers. We understand, which is one of your challenges. We understand
the major challenge.
Yes, we understand that it's 1 to 1,300 farmers, and
yeah, it's one extension officer to 3,000.
To 3,000.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah. That is what our research has found out. That's a finding from our research. And even the government ideal ratio is one extension officer to 1,200, which still is not good enough.
So the situation now is 1 is to 3,000.
Yes.
How does that affect farming in our country?
Oh, a lot, because extension officers or extension agents are the ones who carry out, you know, research findings, the research that you use to improve agronomic practices.
I see.
They train the farmers, and even beyond that, agriculture officers are supposed to build social capital for farmers, organizing farmers into groups, and linking them to markets, teaching them post-harvest losses, you know. Beyond just agronomic practices, there is this social aspect of extension. And it's with this ratio, you know, a lot of farmers, in fact, that is what has prompted us to take up this advocacy. A lot of farmers are not able to access extension. And there is a lot of new seed, you know, new things that are coming up that they need to be educated actually on these issues. You know, the training is fine, but we want to go beyond training and talk about education, you know, because farmers need to work as business. All these things should be coming from the extension
Everything
agent.
is changing.
Everything is changing. So the extension services should change with the times, you know. There are other supplementary ones. People are talking about ICT, people are talking about farmers field school and all these things. Well, they are all good, but the farmers still need to see an extension agent.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so let's see. Have you heard anything from the ministry as to what you can do to help solve this major problem? Because now we are talking about GM, and if we have to give GM to a farmer,
I don't even want to go there.
I wish you just touch on a little on that.
Well, GM,
let's start with the ministry. What the ministry has said about helping you out with extension officers.
It's to be fair to the ministry, be very fair. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, sometimes the system needs to renew itself. But we've been talking to Victoria Adongo, she's coordinator for Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Unfortunately, her throat is giving her a bit of a problem, but she's fine now, and she's going to tell us what the ministry is doing about the extension officer issue. 1 to 3,000 is absurd.
Yes, that's as I was saying before. I broke down coughing. To be fair to the ministries, it's actually not a problem that is limited to the ministry. It cuts across the civil service. Right now, there is a freeze on recruitment. So the ministry cannot recruit new extension officers.
I see.
And what we are told is that even if they are recruiting, they are just recruiting to replace dead ones and those who have gone on retirement and maybe those who have quit. But they are not recruiting fully because there is this conditionality, so to speak, from the IMF that they should limit public expenditure, which includes public recruitment. So that is what we are looking at. Right now, the 5 agri colleges plus the universities bring out...
They're churning out students.
Yes, but those students are not absorbed into the agricultural extension.
We'll probably find time and talk about what we can do so that the sector can absorb some of the students, but would have to end our conversation today's conversation here. And thank you very much, Victoria. Victoria Adongo is coordinator for the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. But let's go back to our earlier story where I was telling you that the National Disaster Management Organization and the Ghana Red Cross Society have urged Ghanaians to shun violence to ensure there would be absolute peace even after the Supreme Court ruling. Here's a report by Redwan Karim Dini.
To increase public awareness about humanitarian assistance and honor those who lost their lives in the course of providing relief to victims of humanitarian crisis, World Humanitarian Day is observed on August 19th each year. The National Disaster Management Organization says, due to technical challenges, it was not able to celebrate the day in a much more better way. Adding, the organization's inability to pay their loans has made many of its borrowers to file lawsuits against them. Sylvester Adintilo is the Deputy National Coordinator for NADMO.
These days, we spend most of the time between the office here, Ministry of Interior, and the AG's department because most of our creditors are threatening to send us to court. Some of them have already sent us. So because of some supplies they did last year, and we have not been able to pay them. So we owe them a lot, and the only thing they can do, they are also running into financial difficulties, and so they are not sending us to court. And if we don't act very quickly, very soon we will be faced with paying judgment debts.
He attributed the cause of some disasters to district, municipal and metropolitan assemblies, calling on them to be more prudent in the issue of permits to people.
It's the laxity that we ourselves have, especially the district assemblies and the municipal assemblies. The way they issue permits for people to build, they are not very strict. When people come for permits to build, they don't check whether the place is a flood-prone area or not, or an earthquake-prone area. They don't check. They go to give the permits, and when people start building, then there are problems. Then they think that NADMO should come in.
A disaster manager at the Ghana Red Cross Society appealed to the UN to be more biting in tackling humanitarian crisis. He advised Ghanaians not to allow their emotions to take away the better part of them after the Supreme Court verdict.
I want to appeal that they should not give the Red Cross work to do. In other words, we don't want any response. Because when you're doing response, you're either going in there to rescue, you're either going there to give first aid, you're either going there to give some kind of relief to people. No. We just want the peace that we need. And in fact, that is one of our key message. We always want to preach.
Ghanaian aid workers are therefore calling for more support from government and volunteers to enable them function more effectively.
Now, the U.S. Embassy in Ghana has warned its citizens of a possible outbreak of violence after the Supreme Court pronounces judgment on the election petition hearing on August 29. Now, speaking on development story earlier, Public Affairs Officer of the Embassy, Sarah Stryker, clarified reasons for a circular saying it was not meant to alarm anybody. Received a copy of the statement issued to citizens of the United States, but why the statement? Why this?
Yes, good morning. The statement was to reach out to American citizens, and there are hundreds of them visiting Ghana right now, to make sure that they have the latest information from us, from our consular section.
Right. We obviously know that. What I'm asking is, why did the embassy deem it necessary to issue a statement?
Well, we do that periodically. We issued statements before the December 2012 election. And part of the information we put in that statement at that time mentioned some of the same issues, particularly concerning large gatherings and asking Americans who were visiting and working and researching here to pay attention to their security situation and their surroundings.
Right. Now, what many want to find out is this normal, or is because of some sort of intelligence the embassy may have that's causing it to, that's prompted it to release a statement? Because one would say that internally in the country, we're already doing things to make sure that we sustain the peace we already we are enjoying. And I don't know how you react to that.
No, I couldn't agree more that Ghana and Ghanaian organizations are very active in terms of peace activities. No question. What we were doing is reaching out to Americans who don't live and work here like we do, who are visiting for short periods, who are volunteering and doing research and here as tourists, who don't really understand the importance of the August 29th date because they're here doing their missions. So our message went out to them, and we told them two things. First, we said, please register with our consular section so that their loved ones can reach them from the United States in case there's some emergency situation back home. And secondly, we mentioned the importance of the August 29th date and the normal information that we give to Americans about paying attention to the security situation, avoiding large crowds. We've issued that before, and we wanted to make sure that this new group of American visitors was well aware of what we were recommending.
Right, and so that was earlier today on Development Stories. Sarah Stryker spoke with me, and she told us it wasn't an alarming circular, but it was just routine to inform U.S. citizens in the country about what they feared. But let's move on to some other stories where about 50 police officers, including a district commander, DSP Nana Ofori, are due to be transferred soon from Chifopraso in the central region over alleged links to illegal mining in the town. 10 of the officers have already been transferred to other towns in the region. Now, the transfer was at the request of the district chief executive.
Joy News gathered that the policemen have served in the area for between 15 and 25 years and have dented the image of the service by engaging in galamsey activities in the area. The transfer, however, follows the mob attack on the police station last Sunday by irate residents who accused the police of shooting 2 alleged galamsey operators during a patrol in the area. The police is yet to come out with who actually authorized the patrol. The district chief executive of Trifo Atimokwa, Bossman Osei told Joy News that he personally appealed to the Inspector General of Police and the Minister for the Interior to transfer some long-serving police officers from the area to enhance the image of the service there. He hoped by this transfer, the image of the police in the area, which is at stake, would be enhanced. Meanwhile, a committee of inquiry has been set up by the Central Regional Minister, Samuel Sapong, to submit a report on the issue for the next action to be taken. Georgina Pierce report for Joy News.
Now, the neglect of persons with disability by society is often based on the wrong perception that they are unable to contribute meaningfully towards national development. Now, they are normally seen as a liability rather than an asset. Well, disabled persons are calling on society and government to ensure the proper implementation of the Disability Act 715. This came to light during the 33rd anniversary and biennial conference of the Ghana Society of the Disabled.
The passage of the Disability Act 715 and the coming into force of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, as well as the desire to achieve the Millennium Development Goals, make it an obligation for Ghana to ensure that all barriers that prevent the total inclusion of persons with disability are broken. But this is yet to achieve anything tangible. There is enough evidence that many people with disabilities have limited access to healthcare, education, employment opportunity, sports and recreation, and they suffer exclusion in many sectors of life. The 33rd anniversary and biennial conference of members of the Ghana Society of the Physically Disabled, held in Takoradi, was under the theme Culture, Tradition and Disability, the Way Forward. The event was also interspersed with some sports disciplines. The Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Society of the Physically Disabled, Clifford Owusu, signed an exclusive interview with Joy News, bemoaned their neglect despite the passage of the Disability Act.
The law is there, but the state, you see, you have 10 years for them to complete everything. And we are in the 6th year. So we are still waiting for the 10 years to be over before we know whether the state will still put things in order or not. But as at now, when it goes to various situations, they are not accessible.
He also condemned some cultural practices, which he says prevents them from occupying responsible positions in society, describing them as outmoded.
When it comes to employment, in the law there should be a quota, but the quota system is also not working. So the state has not, though they have done Parliament has done to come out, pass out the law, the act into law, but its implementation is the problem.
Let's do some business now. Former Ghana Airways board member Alhaji Yusuma Banda has advised government to stay off the airline industry in a desperate attempt to establish a new national airline carrier. Now, speaking on the maiden edition of Joy News Exclusive, Alhaji Banda said government's previous roles in Ghana Airways, Ghana International Airline, is a clear indication that it's better to offload the expensive venture of a national airline operation to the private sector. He spoke exclusively to Sayram Abla de Souza.
Opportunity of serving on Ghana Airways board before. We misused it. What I don't blame us, that time we trained the captains, we trained the engineers, but the management was wrongly handled. Ghana Airways, when it's coming from London, the staff, the directors, they put half of the plane with their luggage, we get nothing. What is national airline? They say we should go, you can take a private company and identify it as a national airline. Are we still saying that we're going to set up a national airline with what? In the first place, we don't even have the money. Why are we talking about that we want to set up? When we don't have light, when we don't have water, when we cannot feed our people, what is the airline going to do for us? I don't think it's the right thing. I don't think the government even is thinking about it. We are going around borrowing money everywhere to come and sustain our economy. Then we go and buy an airline. I don't think national airline, national shipping line, it doesn't help us at all. We should create middle class and let them do this, and then we tax them. The government from the past experience, not even Ghana, Europe, America, everywhere, they have come to accept that government has no business of doing business.
Time now for some international news, and let's settle with Zimbabwe, where Southern African leaders have called for the West to lift all sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe after endorsing President Robert Mugabe's victory in disputed elections last month. Malarian President Joyce Banda said Zimbabweans had suffered enough. The EU and US imposed sanctions on Zimbabwe in 2002 after accusing Mugabe of brutally cracking down on his opponents, a charge he rejected. Mugabe, 89, is due to be inaugurated for a 7th term on Thursday. Dr. Vladimir Chidanso is an associate director at the Center for Regional Integration in Africa. He's going to help us find out if the call is anything to go by. Good afternoon, Doc. Dr. Chidanso.
Hello.
Right. Good afternoon to you. But will the West heed to the calls to lift sanctions on Zimbabwe?
You know what? See that the line is so faint. I barely hear you.
Right. But if you could reposition yourself, perhaps we could fix the patchy line. But we've been talking about Zimbabwe and the sanctions imposed by the West, and I'm asking, what are your assessment of the rolling out of events?
The line is still faint. I hear some words. I can't hear you properly.
I see. Dr. Chidanso will probably hang up and then call you back. But let's go to Nigeria, where the army spokesperson said the militant Islamist leader Abubakar Shakor may have been killed by the security forces during a shootout. An intelligence report showed that Shakor, the leader of the Boko Haram group, may have died between 25th of July and 3rd of August. Boko Haram, which has waged an insurgency in Nigeria since 2009, has not commented on the statements. The U.S. had put a bounty of $7 million on Shakor's head. The intelligence report suggested that Shakor was shot on 30th June when soldiers raided a Boko Haram base at Sambisa Forest in northeastern Nigeria. Stay on the continent and then go to Egypt, where a leading figure of the Muslim Brotherhood, General Guide Mohammed Badi, has been arrested at a flat in Nasser City, Cairo. Badi had been on the run since an arrest warrant was issued over alleged incitement to violence and murder. A state of emergency is enforced amid a crackdown on Islamists opposed to the army's ousting of Mohammed Morsi. Almost 900 people have been killed. On Sunday, 36 Islamist protesters also died in a prison van in the capital, Cairo. Let's go back to our Zimbabwe story, and we still have Dr. Vladimir Chidanso back on the telephone line. But Dr. Chidanso, I'm asking, what's your assessment of the involvement of the West in issues of Zimbabwe again?
Well, I think the situation is normalizing somehow, and since everybody was expecting an election, and the election had been conducted, and a new president or a president has been sworn in, I strongly suspect that we should rather pray for better normalization. And I think the MDC, led by Slangirai, they've also withdrawn their suit. So the earlier the sanctions are lifted for Zimbabwe to get normalization, the better.
They will probably consider the imposing of sanctions on the West as unnecessary.
The point is this, that yes, when you antagonize any other country, they can impose sanctions one way or the other. But I don't think the sanctions make any sense anymore. And I'm not particularly happy how the West also embraced the results. After all, they asked for the coalition government or the unity government or whatever it is, power sharing, and they asked for the elections. The elections have been held. Why would they say that the elections are flawed? If they are flawed, there are institutional measures in Zimbabwe for the flawed elections to be corrected. If they are not flawed also, fine. Zimbabwe must keep going. There must be a government in power to see Zimbabwe going.
I see.
Sanctions affect not the people who are ruling. The sanctions affect the ordinary people of Zimbabwe, and that's what we should know.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ntridanso. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it here. That's it for the segment. Rashid.
The sports segment on the Midday Brief is proudly sponsored by Tigo. Smile, you've got Tigo. Now we go straight to football, where Manchester City last night, they got their first victory of the English Premier League season, thanks to goals from, of course, Kun Aguero. Of course, Silva was also there on the score sheet. And so Manot Pellegrini seems to be finding his rhythm already with the Etihad boys. Here are excerpts of that game from the Etihad Stadium, Manchester City and Newcastle.
Silva. Checo. Well, the header from David Silva. There was a momentary hesitation as the penalty shouts went up for handball. But Newcastle getting to grips a little better, winning the ball higher up the pitch. But now they might be found out here by Aguero. Oh, and he's found the shot. Tim Krul's furious. It was perfectly put. More pressure. He'll be working overtime, he sensed, in the second half. Toure running at an angle to suggest he's going to try and curl it rather than just put his foot through it. David Silva there as well, if he sees the way the left footer can go around the edge of the wall. But it is Yaya Toure. Oh! Textbook! It in. The ball deflected into his path off Stephen Taylor. Had an eventful 44 minutes. And now he's got suspension to face. Oh, Debuchy is beaten to it here, and it's 4. And it's very well taken by Sami Nasri.
Talk about the fastest man on the planet at the moment, and I'm talking about Usain Bolt, breaking all the records in terms of amassing gold medals at some international Olympic or international athletics competition. 200 meters at Moscow, he won it. 400 meters, he won it, and he also led Jamaica to win the 4x100 meters relay. Here are some excerpts from the final stages of the IAAF competition in Moscow.
Geisler now in the long jump. What can he do? You've seen that massive leap by Menkov. Well, it's a good jump too. Well, what's it going to be? He might have put himself up into the other medal positions. Let's wait and see. Nowhere near that massive 8:52 of Menkov. But perfect on the board. Good height. And in the end, it could be up there. Well, it is a national record for the Netherlands, 8:29. He moves in.
Whiting, the best athlete in the world this year. Brilliant in qualification. Can he kickstart his quest for an outdoor gold to go alongside his world indoor title? Well, it's a pretty good start from the American. The defending champion, the Olympic silver medalist. Hasn't had a brilliant season this year, but always tends to rise for the big occasion, and that's over 21 meters. They're cleanly away. Usain Bolt in 6, and he's already tearing up on Lalonde Gordon on his outside. Usain Bolt absolutely comfortable here. It's a real battle for second and third. Delano Williams having a right old tussle with Kobayashi coming through. Bolt easing down, sharing a glance and a smile with Delano Williams of Great Britain.
Now, just before I go, news in from the Confederation of African Football states that the Black Maidens of Ghana have qualified to the next stage of the qualifies for the Under-17 Women's World Cup Costa Rica next year. Now, this is coming on the back of DR Congo not showing up against the Black Maidens last Sunday. So the second leg would also not be played in Congo. So that it means that Ghana goes straight to the next stage against Equatorial Guinea, because Kenya also failed to turn up for their qualifier. That's all for sports. My name is Rashida Baba Kadiri. Sports on the Midday Brief is proudly sponsored by Tigo. Smile, you've got Tigo.
Right, so that's sports just gone by. Now let's do some showbiz news. And Hip Life duo Prayer may not be splitting after all. That is if the assurance given by Sally is anything to go by. Reports emerged on Monday that the group is on the verge of breaking up due to their differences over the alleged sex scandal involving Sally, the girlfriend of Prayer Tietia. But speaking on the AM show today, Sally describes the reports as rumors which should not be taken seriously.
Darling, what's your problem? Just when we thought the controversy surrounding Sally's alleged sexual encounter with the Tanzanian housemate Nando in the Big Brother Africa game was over, fresh news emerged on Monday indicating otherwise. According to the reports, Eugene Ba, or Prayer Honeho, one half of the Prayer group, has asked his colleague Stephen Fiao, also known as Prayer Tietia, to choose to maintain his membership of the group or forfeit it for his girlfriend Sally. The decision apparently is born out of Eugene's fear that the alleged sex scandal will have dire repercussions for the group. But speaking on the AM show, Sally said the reports are not true.
There's nothing like that, because yesterday they were on phone for a long time talking about this, because they obviously heard it. People were calling them to tell them there's actually no split. For me, I don't know where it's coming from. This rumor mongers and stuff, people want to make news and be listened to. So their relationship is very, very good. We are one family, and like absolutely, there's nothing like that. For me, they are promoting. They've started promoting their new singles. They have a new video out there that they are coming to start shooting. So I don't know if this is some sort of hype or whatever. You know, they do this. Some people even claim they are dead, only for you to see them on air the next day granting interviews. So.
According to Sally, she suffered depression after the game due to the unending controversy about her alleged conduct in the house.
I wasn't even aware of all this thing. Obviously, you know the scandal that is out there. I was not aware when I was in the house, so there was no way I could defend myself or, you know, let Africa also hear my part. I had no idea all that was going on behind me. So I come out and I was briefed by the producers, and also my sister calls me to tell me what it was crazy. You should see me when I got back home. I was so lean, depression.
You suffered depression?
It was crazy because I was like, everybody had judged me too quickly.
Well, whilst we try to unravel the mystery behind the reports about an impending split of the Prayer group, one thing we can say for certain is that Prayer Tietia appears to be falling madly in love with Sally by the day, and a split of the group will most likely end the musical careers of the two remaining members of the group, which is already struggling to stay afloat in the music game.
We'll find some answers and bring them to you on our subsequent bulletins. But that's it for this hour. Many thanks for your company. Let's look at our headlines again. Ghana Coalition of NGOs on Health wants condom tax to be removed to ensure gains on use of contraceptive is not eroded. Persons with disability call on society and government to ensure the speedy implementation of the Disability Act. And in business, former Ghana Airways board member Alhaji Suma Banda advises government to stay off the airline industry. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Goodbye.